Oh, there it is. Your favorite Oregon music in the world of second-rate hockey podcasts. That means the second balcony is back. I know you all missed us last week, but uh, it's your pals Greg and Francois here to catch you up on all things Blackhawks. And there's some stuff and things to talk about this week.
Yeah, yeah. In fact, our the RDS network up in Canada is overjoyed that there will actually be a French-speaking Blackhawk.
There you go. See, things are changing. It's before we get into the meat and potatoes of episode 24, the second balcony, the Doug Wilson episode. Make sure you're subscribing to the YouTube page and sharing with all your friends, following us on your podcast apps. It seems that I have found the loophole to make sure that the entire episodes get uploaded. So hopefully we don't have that problem anymore. That was one of the things where like I upload the episode, it tells me it's an hour, I preview all the way through, it goes through the hour, and then it gets to the feed and it's only 30 minutes. So and then they don't tell me why. But it is what it is. That's why we try to get all our good stuff out in the first 30 minutes, just in case. The second 30 minutes is usually Frank talking about the Rangers, and nobody wants to hear that anyway.
I wasn't planning on speaking about the Rangers tonight, which is just as well because I keep saying I'm going to bring a Ranger hat in, so I can just if I start talking about the Rangers, I put the Ranger hat on, so you can just if you're watching on YouTube, you can fast forward till the hat comes off.
I'll make a sound effect to for those who listen to audio only. That would be like a little ding, and it'll say Frank has put on his Rangers hat, and then we'll do another ding, and Frank has removed his Rangers hat, so people know what's going on. Because a lot of people still do just the audio feed, and when it comes to the two of us looking at our mugs, I don't blame you. I would do audio only too.
Yeah, we have faces made for radio, that's for sure.
Yeah, and a radio you throw in the bathtub. All right. Should we start with the big news of the day? Even though the Blackhawks have played quite a few games since we've last chatted, 6 of them to be exact, since we didn't get together last week. But
yeah, actually, other than the shutout where nobody scored, it's been nice to see Frank Nazar finding his game.
Absolutely. I mean, that's been a big concern for everybody involved, including Frank Nazar. It's been one of the trendy things to do on social media the past few weeks is to crap on Frank Nazar and call a contract that he hasn't even played on yet a bad idea and all that stuff. But that's the internet for you. People love to be negative. It's cool. It's easy. It's exhausting, but it is what it is. But he's definitely feeling it. He had a 5-game point streak, 8 points in that 5-game point streak. Of course, that was snapped against Vegas, but you're starting to see him play with that confidence and that swagger that we saw at the end of last season and at the beginning of this season until he had that first lower body injury.
Yeah. And, it's good to see that out of him because the more he gets on the score sheet, it means that teams can't throw the kitchen sink at Connor Bedard. And, I mean, this season, the thing you're looking for the rest of this year is positives out of some of the guys that are considered to be building blocks. And Nazar is definitely one of those guys. It's been nice to see Rinzel's been playing well since he's been back from Rockford, and Lev Shanov's also been picking his game up. So, these are the guys you want to see play well. And, once the Blackhawks sort out Sasha Bavar's visa, which is our other big story, is Sasha Bavar is now a professional hockey player. After his auspicious tournament in with BU, where showing up late for a meeting and getting scratched, do or die game is not a great look. And I don't know how happy he's been in BU this year. Um, and nobody BU just has had they had a bad year, and
Yeah.
when you look at the talent on that roster, there's no explanation for it. Aside from Sasha Boisvert, I mean, Hudson's there and Iserman's there. I mean, there's not first round picks on the team, a lot of talent on that team, and BU is a perennial powerhouse, and Jay Pandolfo is a really good coach.
It's the first year he's been there that he's not going to the Frozen Four.
I know. So it just whatever happened in Boston, it fell apart for Boisvert, but it fell apart for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, Sacha Boisvert underachieving this season is not the reason Boston had a bad year. Everybody, that whole team struggled this year. They couldn't get any kind of momentum going. It's just one of those years. It happens. I mean, look what's going on with the Florida Panthers. Now, granted, a lot of that is injury related, but, teams have down years. It just happens. It's not your season for whatever it is. And, Boisvert's move to Boston was very disappointing. I don't think the Blackhawks were satisfied with what happened there. I don't think he could be satisfied. But when news came that he was out for Wednesday, and then Jay Pandolfo didn't exactly do anybody any favors with his weird explanation after the game, saying he wasn't a healthy scratch, he just wasn't available. And left it at that. And it's like, just say he was late and he got benched.
Yeah,
that's just fine. Say it, because when you don't give an explanation, then the speculation starts, and that's bad for everybody, because it is so hard to, when the internet sleuths and the guys that want to make a name for themselves, trust me, bro, something bad's happening, but I'm not going to say what it is. Piss off. Just say it. If you know something, say it, but you don't. So, that was weird, because I got tagged, and a lot of the people on the beat were getting tagged and say, hey, why don't you guys find out what's going on? Hey, maybe we are, and we just wait till we get actual facts and we get things confirmed before we report on something. So, everybody I talk to that is, college hockey related, and a couple of people who are very closely associated with Boston University, nobody gave me any indication that he's a bad kid or he's a problem. He's not getting arrested. He's not causing problems. He's just, I think, an unhappy teenager, and we've all been there. I'm not making excuses for a bad season, but it is what it is. It was a bad season for everybody involved at Boston. He never really wanted to go there. The only reason he transferred is because North Dakota, where he was fabulous last year, freshman of the year in the conference, they fired Brad Barrett, a longtime coach, the coach that recruited him there, somebody he looked upon as a mentor. They fired him for one somewhat down year, even though they made the NCAA tournament, and he was mad. I get it. We've all been, places, jobs where your boss gets fired and you want to leave the door after him because you appreciate what they did. So hindsight's
he also said he wanted to play closer to home.
True. So all these things factor in. He goes to Boston. It doesn't work out. He's not necessarily happy there. I know they weren't happy with that whole fight he got into earlier in the year that caused him to get suspended. While it looked good on social media and people got excited for it, the team didn't care for that. I don't think they were super happy with him telling Ben Pope, a week ago that he's ready to turn pro when the season is over. You don't say that stuff. Even though it's a down season and your season's pretty much going to end after your next loss, you don't go saying that stuff. So there were a lot of factors in it, but he's not everybody wants to declare now. You're seeing all these, anonymous Twitter accounts that just want to declare him a bust and he's a locker room cancer, blah, blah, blah. All of that is BS. And if there's one thing that's going good for him, now the Blackhawks have direct control over his development. There's no middleman to cut through. There's no Jay Pandolfo's agenda to win hockey games at Boston University at any cost, to deal with anymore. And he's coming into a pretty healthy locker room. This is a good room. this is a tight group, this young core. They get along. They've got the right attitude. The culture that Kyle Davidson has worked so hard to build is really starting to take effect. The results aren't there yet, but those are coming. So he's going to walk into play for a head coach that doesn't take crap from anybody.
And that's the other thing too, is if he winds up being the head case that everybody says he is, fine. Enjoy the beefaroo, kid.
Listen, we've seen Kyle Davidson's not afraid to trade his own picks.
Yeah, there's not a Rockford that Jay Pandolfo can send Boisvert to. There is now. Yeah. And that's not saying anything wrong about Rockford. I mean, Rockford has the best Olive Garden, but still, you don't want these guys. These guys don't want to play there. They want to play in Chicago. They want to play in the NHL. They've spent their entire lives playing hockey geared towards going into the NHL. These guys didn't spend their time on their rink back home fantasizing about winning the Calder Cup. They fantasize about being in the NHL and winning the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I do think there is going to be some time in Rockford for him before this is all said and done. He'll come up and
I think next year he's going to be he and Marek Van Acker and a couple of the lower picks that are going to go pro. They're all going to be in Rockford next year, and they're not going to just force these guys into the NHL because of their draft status. Because quite frankly, there are so many first round picks that if you want to sit there and piss and moan that you got demoted and you're a first round pick, fine. There's plenty more where you came from.
Right.
So, he's got that. And, I'm fairly certain that not only will, Kyle Davidson and Jeff Blashill sit down and have a man-to-man with him before he ever puts on a Blackhawks practice jersey, but, the other guys in the room. I mean, he can look at Nick Lardis, who, Nick Lardis scored 71 goals last year in the OHL, and right now, Jeff Blashill, and I will say right off the bat, I am not happy about this. I'm not a fan of this decision, but giving Andrew Mangiapane ice time over Nick Lardis, I think, is bad. Nick Lardis needs to be on, and truthfully, he needs to be on Bedard's wing. Burakovsky, no.
Yeah, no, that's a dead horse at this point.
Yeah. Get Burakovsky out of there. Look, you know what Burakovsky can do. You know what Mangiapane can do. You don't know what Lardis can do. Lardis strikes me as a guy who can put he clearly is a trigger man. Get him on Bedard's line. Bedard can, look for his own shots, but he also knows he's got a guy on the other side of the ice that will just, he's ready for the one-timer.
Yeah, and, Burakovsky and Mangiapane are placeholders. They're not long-term guys.
No,
they're not. Neither of them are going to be here beyond next year. So yeah, well, I mean, and I really like what I've seen on Andrew Mangiapane. Like I like his style, but yeah, he's, but Blashill fell in love with him because he plays exactly what Blashill wants, and we can get into the Edmonton stuff later, but I don't understand how that specific type of player didn't work at Edmonton. It's exactly what they need up there.
I know.
I'm starting to think that the Edmonton Oilers have gone to the last two Stanley Cup Finals in spite of Chris Knobloch and not because of Chris Knobloch. We've seen it before. I don't think he knows what he's doing up there except saying, "Hey, Leon and Connor, score all our goals. We'll be okay."
Well, I was going to say, when you've got two guys like that in your lineup, it definitely makes you a smarter coach.
Oh, for sure.
I could look like Scotty Bowman if you put me behind the bench and I'm tapping Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl as often as he is.
It's amazing how many coaches they go through that seem to always have the same problems. It's always the same thing up there. But Boisvert and Lardis, I'm glad we're kind of talking about them together because I have a feeling they're going to be on the same line here shortly. But one last thought on Boisvert. As I said, he's not the malcontent that people are saying he is, but if he needs to be humbled and he needs to be knocked down a peg or two, the NHL will do that to you in a blink of an eye. If he needs to get a reality check, he's going to get it his first shift in the NHL whenever that comes this week, whether it's against Minnesota or if it's against Colorado. He's going to get humbled really quick. And an interesting thing today at practice, he wasn't there, but his stall was waiting for him right next to Connor Bedard's. What does that tell you? Like,
what numbers he got?
12, number 12, because he can't wear number 9 where he's worn everywhere else.
The Kyle Beach number.
Well, it's also the Alex DeBrincat number, so it's I think, But
the one I'm interested in is Frondel's worn 14 his whole career.
Yeah.
So we'll see what he gets, but we might see.
Well, you know what? That number might be available next year. The way
I was going to say, whatever he gets when he shows up might change over the summer.
Yeah. Just the guy that currently wears 14 in the Blackhawks organization. They might not have to worry about asking him. Might not have to buy him a watch this offseason to get his number. It might be available. But he might wear 16 in honor of his pal Marcus Kruger over there in.
Nobody's
Sweden.
wearing that. No one's
Not
wearing
anymore. So I think just based on this lineup construction and getting inside the head of Jeff Blashill, I kind of like where Boisvert will likely play, and he's likely going to center Nick Lardis and Landon Slaggert. That could be a fun, effective line. Not your typical fourth line, but you have Nick Lardis out there. We know that he loves to shoot. Sacha Boisvert is an elite passer, and he could get him the puck. And then you have Landon Slaggert out there creating space for those two guys. Boisvert has got a good shot. He's got a good wrist shot. He's got a good one-timer, but he likes to pass before he shoots. Yeah. And if he's got a sniper over to his left, and you got Landon Slaggert out there getting to the net and making space for those two, that could be a sneaky, effective line after a couple of games of figuring out how to play with each other.
And the other thing with Boisvert, and much to BU's chagrin, is the mitts will come off, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend it's 1983 and we need Norris Division players, but the Blackhawks are easy to play against, and one of the reasons is that I'm not saying they need a Daniel Carcillo out there, but you need to have one or two guys out there to kind of put people's heads on swivels. And, we thought that Colton Dock might be that guy. That clearly wasn't the case. And next year, Boisvert's going to start the year in Rockford. And the other guy who's probably going to start the year in Rockford next year is going to be AJ Spellacy. And those are two guys that they've got size, they can skate, and they can get on the ice with pretty bad attitudes. And that's something that the Blackhawks need.
Yeah, while I can appreciate Connor Bedard being a little more feisty these days and mixing up a little more, he shouldn't have to.
Right. You don't want Connor Bedard doing that. You don't want Connor Bedard taking roughing penalties, and you absolutely don't want him taking off his gloves and running the risk of having him break a knuckle on someone's helmet.
Yeah. While I appreciate him, standing up for himself more.
Yeah.
This season and not putting up with as much crap, he also shouldn't have to. Somebody should be helping him out there, and Boisvert will definitely help in that area. And I think to a degree, Mangiapane's helping out in that area a little bit. He is definitely a guy that will, after the whistle, he's the first guy to, start shoving. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but I appreciate his willingness to play between the dots and get to the net. That's a guy that they don't have that. Right. I think one of the biggest misconceptions before he actually got here, and we got to see him play every day, was people thought Tyler Bertuzzi was that type of agitator player, and he's not. I mean, see the name Bertuzzi, you automatically think, oh, this guy's probably a dick. That's just not the case. I mean, he has his moments but he's not a, he gets to the front of the net, but he's not a super physical guy.
Yeah.
I mean, he doesn't shy away from it, but he doesn't like instigate it a lot. Max Domi was far more, in that department as far as, being the instigator of things. So you really don't have that guy. And, you do still need that, but that guy also needs to be able to put the puck in the net too. The days of just having, people forget, as dirty as he was at times, Daniel Carcillo was not a terrible offensive hockey player. There was some skill there. He just decided not to use it very often.
Yeah, he just kind of ran around like his hair was on fire.
Like if Daniel Carcillo put the work in to actually like do something besides slew foot guys and punch guys in the back of the head, he could have been a 20-goal scorer. I think he had the speed and he had the talent. He just knew that he would have a longer career doing what it is that he did. The Hawks definitely need more guys like that. And Bavar is the start of getting those kind of edgy guys. He's not going to make a lot of friends.
Yeah, and maybe one of these guys turns into a Tom Wilson type who keeps everybody honest and can, put 15 to 20 in.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely.
We're not looking for him to be Al Secord.
No, it'd be fun. I'd take it, but no, you don't. You definitely, the days of basically having one or two roster spots for knuckle draggers and face punchers, those days are over. You've got to be able to play. So that's why it gets harder and harder to find those guys, just because, with the way youth hockey has kind of evolved just to be safer and avoid headshots and less fighting, which I'm all on board for, but it's kind of like the kids that are coming up are playing a different style, a safer style, a less physical style of hockey. But then you get to the NHL and they're still demanding that old school mentality at some point. So it's kind of a conflict of interest there where it's like, we're coaching all that stuff out of you at the youth level, but when you turn pro, you got to learn how to do it again.
And this has been episode 1 of the latest season of Shoresy.
Yeah.
Did you watch Shoresy yet? Did you watch this?
I have not watched any of the newer ones. I watched the first couple seasons. I'm a huge Letterkenny fan, at least of the early seasons.
This season there is an old friend alert. The whole storyline of the season is that Shoresy puts together a all-star team of North American players to play this team of Europeans who are coming over and beating up all these senior teams. And the goalie on the European team is our old friend Scott Darling.
Oh, there you go. But he's not European.
Yeah, they actually gave him a couple of lines. Is he still doing stand-up comedy? Do you know?
I don't know. I that's not something. I saw like a 20-second clip of one of his comedy acts. I was like, yeah, I'm good. I'm all right.
Scott, if you're listening, come on down. We'll have you on. We'll give you a 5-minute spot.
No, I enjoyed like the first season of Shoresy, and then by like mid-second season, I was kind of like, all right, I get it. Sticks are great, all that stuff. Like, where are we going here? Just the repetitiveness, and that Letterkenny kind of ran through a lot of those same problems too. Where it's kind of like, all right, we're running all these same jokes into the ground. But I'll check out the new stuff too.
Because what they've done the last couple of seasons is they basically pick a story and run the story through the season. So that
we had Jordan Nolan on CHGO back when they were doing the
Shoresy Classic.
When they were doing that out in Allstate, we had him on. He was awesome. Real smart guy, and I really enjoyed talking to him and getting kind of a behind the scenes look at how all that stuff goes down. But yeah, I'll check that out. I like from September to June, I don't get to watch anything. Like, so I have a really short window from like after July 1st to like second week of September. I try and cram in everything I missed into like a 10-week window. So I'll add that to the list.
Oh, and the other big Blackhawks news is they're playing 2 games in Dusseldorf,
Yeah.
which is incredibly dumb.
Well, I'm not sure why they're taking the Blackhawks.
That's what's incredibly dumb.
There's no Germans. The Senators make all the sense in the world. You have Tim Stützle. How is it not the Oilers and the Senators?
Yeah, you got one of the 5 best players in the world who happens to be German. Yeah, let him sit home in Edmonton and watch the games on TV.
Or
the Blackhawks
trade for Leon Draisaitl this summer. There it is. Tinfoil hats on, ladies and gentlemen. Future Chicago Blackhawk Leon Draisaitl.
Nah, I want my favorite goaltender, Peter Fuker, to come out of retirement and let him play for the Hawks just so everybody could walk around with their fucker jerseys on. Because the NHL doesn't allow umlauts.
Maybe the Hawks should have not traded Lucas Reichel. I wonder if that would, but I wonder how long this has been in discussion where like Reichel was still on the roster when they started all this stuff and then they traded him. Not that I think Lucas Reichel is going to be a big draw for tickets there,
no.
But listen, as someone who hopefully gets the opportunity to go cover these games, Germany the week before Christmas, sign me up. That should be a blast.
All right.
Go to a Chris Kindle market in Germany. I'm there. That'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'd be useless because I would just be walking around doing the producers. I was born in Dusseldorf, and that is why they call me rough.
I'm sure they never hear that out there. Oh, here comes another old American singing that stupid song again.
Springtime for you know who?
You'll get arrested over there if you.
I know.
They actually do something about that sort of thing in that country. So that it's kind of fun. I mean, it just shows that like the Blackhawks. But I think we say it's stupid for the Blackhawks to go there, but like worldwide, the Blackhawks are one of the most popular hockey teams. So I don't think it matters that there isn't a German. They've got a big following out there. They you look at like pictures of Antoine Frandel as a kid wearing Blackhawks gear and
Marian Hossa.
Nestersil was wearing Blackhawks stuff as a kid too. Like they're a popular franchise in Europe, regardless of who's there. So, it's fun. Get them out there. Let some of these young guys see the world a little bit. And we're talking about international stuff that they announced the host cities for the World Cup of Hockey again in 2028. The games will be played in the Prague, Czechia, which is by all accounts a beautiful world-class city, and Czechia is becoming a really good hockey country. Calgary, okay. And then the finals will be or the elimination rounds will be in Edmonton. So Alberta gets all the games. I'm a little baffled that there's going to be no games in the United States.
Well, I figure this is the one way they can guarantee somebody skates a trophy in Canada.
I guess so. I mean, and like I said that online, and people are like, "Oh, typical American, make it about us." No, it's not that. It's a bad marketing decision by the NHL. Like you always talk about growing the game. The United States just swept the gold medals at the Olympics, men's, women, and the sled hockey team.
Well, it's going to be 2028, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And people say, "Oh, people say the United States is not a popular place to go to these days." Well, that's 2 years from now. Hopefully a lot has changed between now and then.
Well, also 2028, the U.S. has the Olympics.
Yeah, true. But I mean, it's Summer Olympics, and it's like you can't throw 5 or 6, 4 or 5 preliminary games in Minnesota. People go crazy for that. Or Detroit. It doesn't have to be Boston or New York. Throw them out in Las Vegas. People have fun there. I know it's hard to do because of it's in February, so there's a basketball. A lot of
Mhm.
the NHL. There's not a lot of NHL exclusive arenas out there, especially in the United States. Most of them share it with an NBA team and other things, so it's hard to block off a week of the building. But there are places you could do that. I mean, Tampa. You could have it down in Tampa. You could have it down. There's plenty of places. As I said, Vegas doesn't have their arena. The Wild have their own arena. The Timberwolves play in a different arena. You have options. You know,
Both Florida arenas.
yeah, the Islanders have their own arena. They don't share that with anybody else. So I knew
Devils.
that. Yeah, I mean, you know, there's plenty of options to do that. St. Louis is a big hockey area right now. It just to me it feels like it's a missed marketing opportunity for.
Hartford.
There you go.
There you go.
Um,
Brass bonanza for every goal.
um, but it's typical to me of the NHL where hockey gets this big upswing in the United States with the Olympics. And then the next big international tournament that comes around where the Americans can defend their Olympic gold medal, you don't play any of the games in the United States. It seems kind of silly to me.
Yep.
But very on brand for the National Hockey League.
Oh yeah. Well, as we already established, the best German player in the league is not going to Germany.
Yeah. Well, maybe he's getting traded to Ottawa, not the Blackhawks. He'll go play with Stutzla, and they'll because listen, Edmonton is a dumpster fire, and a lot of that has to do with the man they hired to win a championship. Stan Bowman, man, nepotism at its finest. He is not a good general manager.
He is not. And yeah, Edmonton's not even making something amazing has to happen for Edmonton to make the conference final.
See, but the Pacific Division is so lousy that I'm not writing them off. I mean, Vegas is beatable. The Ducks are the Ducks. I mean, the Kings aren't that great. If you play the Sharks are not. They're not beating the Oilers in a 7-game series. So they might.
Yeah, there's such a mess in net.
Yeah, but who are they playing really has that solved? Like, Vegas doesn't have great goaltending. The Ducks have a good young goalie, but he's never played in the playoffs before. The Sharks don't have goaltending. Our buddy
Laurent Brossoit.
Yeah, that worked out wonderfully for him the other day, didn't it? Giving up 6 goals in his NHL debut. I agree that it's going to be tough for them, but when you look at who they might be playing, I mean, unless they win the division, which they still can, they're only 2 points behind the Ducks at this point, or Vegas. I think Vegas is back in first place. They would play then the second wild card team. They would play Utah. I could see them losing to Utah.
Yeah.
Because, well, unless Stan Bowman has a stash of Blackhawk jerseys in his office and he makes the Oilers wear Blackhawk jerseys, then the Mammoth are screwed. They're not winning a game. They're getting swept.
Do we know when the quarterfinals start in Sweden?
Tuesday, tomorrow.
Tuesday? Okay.
Yeah, they will play the 3-game series, so it'll be Tuesday game 1, Thursday game 2, and if there is necessary, Saturday would be game 3. So we could know as quickly as Thursday when Mr. Frondell is coming stateside.
Yeah,
it's not a matter of if, it's when.
Oh yeah,
and he's already signed, so he can come whenever.
Right, and hopefully they'll. Well, I think he did he practice with the team last year?
No.
I don't think he did.
No, he was already in Sweden because Sweden starts their season early.
Right. So they're in the same boat where they're in with Boisvert, where they've got to get the visa straightened out.
I don't. Yeah, yeah, probably, unless they did something like that when he signed his contract to get it over with. But I don't know
That
how
could
that
be.
works. I
I
don't
don't
know
either.
how. I don't know what is required or any of that stuff. But since he's under contract, they might have you know started that process already.
Yeah,
And maybe that's something you do the second you sign your contract, and then since Bob Ware is waiting for it to actually show up and play, if they filed all that paperwork when he signed last summer, then it should be fine. But
right.
I am no immigration expert, that's for sure.
Um, but yeah, it'll be fun to see him get over here because the other thing with both him and with Boisvert is these are two guys who have NHL bodies. They they don't need to go in the weight room and beef up. They're both big boys. Um, the one guy who, well, there's been conjecture about a couple other guys. Like, I've seen John Mustard's name get thrown around a little bit. Um, I don't know. Mustard is, he's either going to play in Rockford or he's going to play at Providence. He's not NHL ready.
No, I'd be shocked if he goes pro this year.
Yeah. Yeah, he might just because he wants to go pro, and you don't know what a player's thinking. And the Blackhawks, I don't know what kind of conversations he and the Blackhawks are allowed to have under NCAA rules. Um, but I'm assuming if he says the Blackhawks, I've done 2 years of Providence, I want to go pro. I don't necessarily know that the Blackhawks can tell him no, but it's also a conversation they can, because Providence is going to be, they're going to the NCAA tournament. They're going to go deep into the NCAA tournament. So there's a very good chance that, whatever conversation they have won't take place until after the season's over anyway.
Yeah, and they could always, if his season ends, he wants a couple games, they could always sign him to an amateur tryout,
Yeah.
and have him play a game or two in Rockford for free. So, we'll see how that goes. I would be surprised if he is with the Hawks organization next year. I would think he's going to go back to college. Providence has really got something going there. I would think, he could be, captain there next season.
Yeah.
And, if, say they make it to the Frozen Four and fall short, that could be the motivation for him to say, no, I want to come back and win a national title with these guys. So,
Yeah.
um, it was definitely a busy weekend for Hawks prospects. We have to get our hog cranking in, even though there really aren't any actual hogs worth cranking these days, but future
No.
hogs. Um, as we mentioned, Vaclav Nestorsil had a big postseason debut, a goal and 2 assists. UMass is on to the Hockey East semifinals.
Mm-hmm.
So they get to play in TD Garden. He was the Hockey East Freshman of the Week for his performance. I watched that game, and man, he's just got a knack for just being in the right places at the right time. And for such a big kid, he just kind of sneaks into these areas where you're like, oh my God, there he is. Like, he's super talented.
Yeah, that's kind of the same thing I've always seen with Ben Acker, where Ben Acker just finds the spots. And, you know, I've ever since the Hawks drafted him, I saw a little bit of video before the Hawks drafted him. There wasn't a lot because he was hurt, but not just because they're near each other in the alphabet, but I keep seeing his game being similar to Carter Verhaeghe.
I'll take it. That guy scores a lot of big goals.
Yeah, and I could see him being that type of guy, where he might wind up being like your third line right wing, but every so often it's like, wow, Van Acker had a big goal last night, that sort of thing. But yeah, Straussel, he's a guy who, like, I saw him some video of him. Like I think last year, the every shift that they did for prospect camp, I think they went to the beach or something like that. I remember thinking, oh, Vaslav needs to get in the weight room. He's a lanky boy.
Yeah, but send him up my way. If I can be his billet for 6 months, I'll get some weight on him real quick.
Yeah, I don't know if they want body by Portillo's.
Hey, we got Portillo's down the street. There we got some Culver's, tons of great pizza. Well, I'll get him bulked up real quick. He can eventually turn it into muscle. He's young.
Oh yeah. Well, plus he comes from a hockey family, and I'm sure they're gonna take him and say, okay, here's the weight room. Get to know it. Get to love it.
Yeah, so it'll be fun. Bavar coming. Frondell will be here soon. Roman Kantsarov had 2 more goals today. 36 on the season, which I believe did that tie Kirill Kaprizov's record for most goals, 23 or under. And he's got a handful of games left. I think they got 1 or 2 more games before the regular season ends there. So he has a chance to set that record. Frondell became only the 4th 18-year-old in SHL history to score 20 goals in the season, and the first since Daniel Sedin. So if you're being mentioned in the same breath as a Sedin, you're on the right track.
He's far less creepy.
Yeah, well, that's you could say that about 98% of the world's population and be correct. So that's exciting. We mentioned Vanacker, the Brantford Bulldogs. The CHL teams are wrapping up their regular season this coming weekend, and will start their playoffs. Brantford's looking to make a deep run. Kitchener Rangers with Jack Pridham is looking to make a deep run. They're 2 of the top teams in the OHL. And then AJ Spellacy and Windsor will also be in the OHL playoffs. Out west, Nathan Beam and Kamloops, they'll have a playoff run coming up here soon for the WHL. So those are things to be tracking. And a guy that's not officially a part of the Cranking Hogs section, but might be, had a really good game in that Boston game. Tynan Lawrence. I had mentioned on Saturday, if you're watching BU for Bavar, pay attention to Tynan Lawrence, because I know he's on the Blackhawks radar. They've got a lot of eyeballs on him because he's another Muskegon lumberjack. I mean, that's kind of the pipeline. Bavar went to Muskegon, Nazar went to Muskegon, and then they're just following him along. So they've got a good idea what they're looking at. And I mentioned that, and he goes out and has a goal and assist, was probably the best player on the ice, at least for BU. And then, of course, I always forget, especially on X. Unfortunately, I still have to hang out on that cesspool site. But I always forget how many Hall of Fame retired NHL scouts hang out on X with Blackhawks and Bedard in their handle name. It's crazy. Like, none of these guys use their real names. They always use these Bedard and accounts. But as soon as you mention a guy like that, and all I said was he's on the Blackhawks radar, all of a sudden all these hockey experts come out and say, oh no, they shouldn't draft him. I didn't say they should. I didn't say they will. I'm just saying he's on their radar. Yeah. And if they pick 3rd overall, they're not taking him 3rd overall. No. If they get the Panthers pick at, say, 11 or 12, even though that's not looking great these days, and he's there, that's a guy you take in that situation. But these guys,
they fall back to 5 or 6.
Yeah, he might be there, sure. Like, if you're at 3 and Stenberg or Veerhoff are available, those are your guys.
Yeah.
Whoever has number 2, they get to select either one of those guys, because I'm pretty sure McKenna's still going number 1.
Yeah, McKenna, I think he's kind of locked himself into number 1.
Yeah. I don't know if he necessarily ever lost it, but I think people were thinking maybe he'll slide, but then he had that, he's had that big finish to his season. So I think he'll go number one. So whoever's got number two gets the choice, Stenberg or Veerhoff, and whoever isn't selected, that's the Blackhawks guy, and you're happy
Yeah.
with either one of those guys. So, but just have all these people like, oh, Lawrence, he's blah 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 blah. Like you don't know. I had one guy just say like, oh, well, 17 games and only 11 points. That's not very good. Yeah, because point totals tells you the whole story about a player, but you also realize he started the season in the USHL and then came to Boston in December, and probably needed a few weeks to get things going. But he's been like their best player for the last 3 weeks, so he's a name to watch out. I liked what I saw out of him on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit before. Basically, if the Hawks the Hawks right now for the lottery are going to wind up anywhere between 2 and 6. And you don't have to worry about them losing games. They don't have to tank at this point. They are where they are. They're not going to get the number one pick. They're not going to be in the number one spot for the lottery.
Right.
And they're not going to get any further away than 6. So 2 to 6, somewhere in there. They're getting a good player. Unless they get total ping pong ball luck and go into the 1 or 2 spot, they're gonna get a defenseman because the top end of the draft is very defense heavy. But yeah, keep an eye on what happens with the Panthers. Like right now, I think the Panthers are in the 10 spot. Now, here's my question. I honestly don't know. So they're in the 10 spot for the lottery. If they fall back, do the Hawks get the pick, or does it?
It's a top 10 pick. So if they fall back, they'll get the pick.
Okay.
It's not where they finished lottery. It's where their actual pick is.
Okay.
But the thing is, you 10th is the last position you could do to win the lottery, number one, because that's where the Islanders were last year. Teams 11 through 16, I think you could only move up 10 spots. Right. So if one of those teams wins the lottery, they only move up to like 4th or 5th.
Right.
But that pushes the Panthers back. But the odds of that are very slim.
Yeah.
So they're going to need the Panthers to win a few games here, and they're just, Sam Bennett was out. Sam Reinhardt's now out. Marchand's probably done for the year. Like they're going to shut all these guys down. So,
they're going to shut down and reload for next year.
Right. And okay. Yeah. Would it be nice to have another, 2 picks in the top 15 this year? Sure. But if it goes the next year, well, then you have probably 3 picks in the draft next year. Cause chances are the Oilers aren't going to be, but we said that about the Panthers and look what happened. But you never know. Don't put it past Stan Bowman to somehow take the second worst goalie in the league and trade him for the worst goalie in the league and give up a 2nd round pick to get him.
I've got a pretty strong suspicion that by the time the Stanley Cup is given out, Stan Bowman's reading the want ads.
That would be a really quick trigger, but if Connor McDavid walks into the owner's office and says, it's him or me, guess who's losing his job?
And McDavid specifically signed a short deal.
Yeah. TikTok.
He told the Oilers, shit or get off the pot.
Yeah.
And
Stan Bowman's not the guy to come in and do that.
No, there's some good, smart hockey people out there, and Stan Bowman is not in the team picture.
But do you trust if I'm Connor McDavid, do I trust the Oilers to make it any better? I mean, look at his GMs he's had since he's been there. Peter Chiarelli, woof.
Yep.
Ken Holland, the most overrated general manager of all time.
Yeah.
Goes to the Kings, and what the hell is he doing with the Kings? And now Stan Bowman. Like, I don't know. Maybe don't get a retread and try and find somebody that actually has an original thought.
Yeah. Hey, I still don't know if what Kyle Davidson is doing is going to work. None of us do. But at least there's a clear vision.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like what John Goodman said in Lebowski. It's like, say what you want about National Socialism, at least it's an ethos.
I got my I
So
got my Big Lebowski shirt on right now.
yeah, so
Um,
maybe what Davidson's doing won't work in the long run, but at least there's a plan.
yeah, I mean, and I had the opportunity. Jay Zawaski and I had the opportunity to have a sit down interview with Kyle Davidson this week, and he's
Mhm.
pretty much said what he's trying to do really has never been done before.
Yeah.
If it was up, I mean, he would love to be able to build a playoff team of 18 guys that he drafted, but he's also smart enough to know that that's not how this is going to work. Um, and if you've been listening to him in his deadline presser, if you listen to the interview we had with him, he's done a couple other media things since the deadline. If you listen to him, well, he's not flat out saying, I know I have to go out and get somebody to make a difference here. He's pretty much saying, listen, I've got all these picks, I got all these prospects. One of these days, I'm going to use them to get the player that makes sense. We've known that he's kicked tires on Jason Robertson before.
Yeah.
We know that he almost acquired Matthew Knees once. He was going to get him for Marc-Andre Fleury at the deadline, but then Brendan Shanahan nixed the deal. He's allegedly going to be available this summer. So he's tried. Now's the time to actually go get it done. And he's got the ammo, he's got the cap space, and he's got more picks and more prospects to offer than anybody else out there.
Yep. And there's no free agents, and it's not the Blackhawks have no free agents. There's no free agents out there for anybody. The best free agent that's out there is Alex Tuch,
and I don't think he's going to be one by the time July 1st rolls around.
Right now with the good vibes in Buffalo, they got the money for him. They'll probably wrap him up. So yeah, there's just nobody. There's nobody out there. Nick
it's going to be that way for a
Nick
while.
Schmaltz just signed for 8 years.
8 years, $8 million.
Yeah.
You'll be paying a 37-year-old Nick Schmaltz $8 million. Have fun with that.
Yeah. But these are the contracts they're giving out. So there's just nothing out there for any team that wants free agents. Not going to happen. All you can do is keep building through the draft. And the whole point of having draft picks, the whole point of having prospects is to make the NHL club better. And if that happens through the players developing or the players being traded to get guys in who are ready to go now, like a Matthew Knees is a great example. Knees is not a superstar by any means. Is Knees better than pretty much everyone on the Blackhawks? Sure. Get Matthew Knees.
If you go into next season with your top line of Knees, Bedard, and Frundell, you got something.
Oh yeah,
that's a good line right there.
And if they can't get Knees, you'd go with Kinserov.
Sure.
Kinserov. I have confidence in Kinserov and Frundell because they've both spent this year playing against men.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, granted, the rinks are going to be smaller, the bodies will be bigger, but these aren't guys who've been out there skating against juniors or skating in college. They're skating against men. And yeah, who knows what the Hawks wind up drafting?
Yeah,
I said, they're gonna be in the lottery somewhere between 2 and 6. We'll see how the ping pong balls fall, and then we'll know.
Yeah, and I've been telling people ever since the 2022 draft, don't fall in love with every prospect, because prospects and draft picks, until they become effective NHL players, they're currency.
Yeah,
they're currency to get yourself something better. So, if you were one of those people that went out and bought a Kevin Korchinski 55 jersey, you might have wasted your money. If you're a big fan of, I like Oliver Moore just as much as the next guy, but if Toronto wants him and Kevin Korchinski and a first round pick for Nines, you make that you make that deal. You don't
Yeah.
even blink twice. You
Yeah.
make that deal. There's not many guys in the Blackhawks organization that I automatically say no to in any trade. Bedard, obviously, not happening. As of now, Levshinov's not included in any trade unless it's for like, the Colorado Avalanche realize they can't afford Cale Makar and they're going to trade him before July 1st with an extension.
Right.
Okay, then you can have anybody you want that's not Connor Bedard.
Right.
But that's not happening.
And I don't know how quick teams will be to jump on Nazar. I mean, Nazar's contract isn't bad. It's what, $5 million a year?
6.7.
Okay, still, it's
He had
not
to-
a
he
lot.
had to do
It's
the
not
six
a
thing.
lot of money for a 2C.
No. And as we're seeing, the reason free agency is dead is because NHL GMs cannot wait to blow their new load of salary cap. They just can't wait.
Yeah.
Like some of these guys, and I'm the last guy on the planet to kink shame, but some of these guys just get off on being right up against the salary cap ceiling. Like they can't help
know.
themselves.
And the funny thing to me is it's easy to sit here on my couch and there's not even a hockey stick in my house, but if you're going to be a free agent, it's like, hey man, they're throwing money around. They're throwing money out like it's going to go bad. Fuck it, man. Get out in the market and get paid. There's a lot of money out there if you're willing to go out there.
We know who's going to cash in on it. It's going to be God, why am I drawing a blank? It's going to be Pavel Dorfiev over in Vegas with all his power play goals. He's going to be a free agent. His contract's going to get a general manager fired in a couple of years.
Yep.
He's going to benefit from this big. That's why I was shocked with Panarin would take a 2-year deal to stay in LA of all places.
I know.
Why wouldn't you hit the free market, man? You were going to get he'd
Chase
probably
a
get
cup.
Yeah, like you're not winning a cup in LA. Let somebody just throw all the money at you and take advantage of that. But yeah. Oh well. I mean, the Blackhawks have cap space as a weapon for the next few years. Yep. So use it while you can, because eventually you're not. It's gonna eventually go away.
Blackhawks legend Shea Weber rolls off this year.
There you go. I mean, and you have Ryan Ellis, is that
he's got one more year?
Yeah. So, but if you need to go out there and trade a few guys, if you got to trade Korchinski and more, or even Rinzel to get a Jason Robertson, you do it.
Oh yeah,
you do it.
And I mean, Korchinski is just such a change of scenery guy.
Yeah, I mean, it's really starting to feel that
it's just not happening for him.
No,
I'm pretty sure that he doesn't want to spend the rest of his life just playing in the AHL All-Star game either.
No. If he is in training camp with the Blackhawks, he and Mastro both need new deals this summer. Their RFAs, but both of those guys will no longer be waiver exempt, so they will need to clear waivers to go. So I would think if they sign him and Korchinski stinks out the joint in training camp, they're not going to risk trying to put him through waivers. Someone's going to claim him.
Yeah.
Then you lose him for nothing. So if he's not part of your long-term plans, it's time to just cut bait and move on. And his trade value isn't great right now, but I mean, he's a 21-year-old kid, who's got talent.
I've been saying all year, you can see
just don't fall in your lap every day.
Yeah, I mean, you could see. I've said before, you could see the good defenseman in there. It hasn't come out, and whether it's mental, whether it's coaching, whether it's whatever, it just hasn't happened. Get him to a place, trade him to Florida, maybe, put together a deal with Florida, give him Korchinski and maybe someone else, and for the deal they give up their protection on the draft pick.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I mean, I would think that and
Although Florida's organizational depth is so thin that I can't see Zito wanting to give up that pick.
No, I think that's why they're fine with Brad Marchand and Sam Reinhart staying home for a few games. Like they're not sweating this. If they can come back with all these guys next year healthy and they can add a top 10 pick, that's a double win for them. They're doing the right thing here, waving.
And they don't have to rush whoever they pick.
Right. So and they can trade him to the Blackhawks in a couple of years, just like they did with Spencer Knight. For the last 2 years of Alex Vlasic's contract. There you go.
Yeah. All right. So we are at the 1 hour mark.
There we are. Yep.
I think we made it. Covered everything.
I think so. And we didn't really talk at all about the actual Blackhawks, which is fine.
Yeah. I mean, look, what do you need to know? Bedard, good. Nazar starting to play again. We did kind of touch on all that stuff.
But that's fine. This is not about what's happening now. Everything is still geared toward the future. The good thing is not as far down the road as it was a year or two ago. It's a lot closer than it was.
Yes.
All right. That will wrap things up for the 24th episode of the Second Balcony. We will do our best to get back at this next week as well. We'll discuss off the air what days work good for us, and we're getting close to the end of the season. We got the Stanley Cup playoffs are on the horizon. As I mentioned, all the college playoffs and junior playoffs, European playoffs. It's going to be fun for the next few weeks because we have a lot to look forward to, and none of it has to do with the actual current Blackhawks, and that's okay. So for Frank and myself, thanks for checking us out, and take us on home, Al.